All right, let's see, I turn this way so you get to see a little bit more of the cabin. And yesterday, my little vlog for the day was long. I mean, it was like 24 minutes long. I know. I don't know. Do you guys want a 23-minute long? Is anybody gonna watch that? I'm gonna try to make this a little shorter. Plus, I think I'm gonna go into town today. Normally I go on Wednesday to kind of break up the week. But I went walking this morning at like 6:30 and it was so cold. I forget that because we're out in the middle of nowhere. Like, we're not by any cities. So it was like 52 degrees and like I had a sweatshirt and long pants, but I was still really cold. So I think I'm gonna go in to town and see if I can find like a hoodie or something, at least for the morning walks. And anyway, get some more produce since I've eaten like almost all of my produce. So far today, I spent a lot of time just reading and praying, and now I'm doing some writing. Except that like one of my goals was to finish this one chapter. It's chapter 3, but I think I'm eventually going to probably make it chapter 2. And so I'm reworking like I knew I needed to add some more to this chapter. It needed to be longer. There was like holes as you go back and you read through it. And so I wrote quite a bit this morning for this chapter, which I really like. I like the new stuff that I wrote, but I go back and I read what I wrote before. And I sound like I'm 8 years old. Like I'm writing this, like the story takes place when I'm 8 or 9, but it also sounds like I'm 8 or 9 writing this story. It's really irritating. So I'm wrestling with this. How do you write a story and not like developmentally write like you're 8? And then in the process of writing the whole thing, like this story, I realize, I don't know if this ever happened to you. So maybe it's just a phenomenon that happens when you're actually trying to write stuff. I realized that this story has kind of become a false narrative in my life. Like as I'm writing out the story and I'm thinking through it and processing it, I'm like, that story took on a life of its own and has for the course of my life, and it's a false narrative. Like, it's not a healthy narrative. Like, you need to get rid of this. You need to purge this from your life. So now what do I do with that? So I feel like I almost need to scrap the whole thing and go back and write the chapter from this new perspective of realizing, no, this is a false narrative and I need to get rid of it. But then I'm like, well, what does that do with the preceding chapter and the chapter that comes after it? I don't know. I'll let you know how it goes. But I think what I'm going to do is take a break, go into town, go for another walk, and then come back and start all over again with this chapter. So anyway, that's where I'm at with that. I do have some footage from this morning walking in the meadow. I did not get there were a couple of deer I saw in the meadow, but they're close enough for me to see, too far away from my camera. Like, my camera could see them, but they were little teeny weeny bitty brown spots in the camera, so I didn't get any video. Plus, as soon as they saw me, they just bounded through, back into the woods and disappeared. But it's beautiful weather. I swear, like, I don't know if this land ever gets bad weather, but it's not true. I have been here before when it's been raining or snowing, but it just seems like every time I come that the weather is amazing. And it's 75, the humidity is low. I'm wearing a sweatshirt inside because they have the AC on, and even though I have the AC set at 75, I'm still cold. But that's my own problem. All right, that's my own problem. So that's where I'm at for today. Oh, and I finally heard that Carrie Job, how do you say her name? Carrie Joby? I should know after all these years. Her song The Blessing by Elevation. That song is amazing. Amazing. So if you haven't listened to it, go on to YouTube and find it with the lyrics, because it's really the lyrics, I think, that make it. And part of why I think it is particularly why I find it particularly meaningful is because I use that benediction. It's something I started early on when we planted Devonair, when it was still Plumline. And blessing, may the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you. Every single Sunday, like at the end, when I finish preaching, that is the benediction, that's the blessing that I give to my congregation. And I have a couple of people in my congregation, they're like, that's my favorite part of your sermon, which of course also makes me laugh, because I work really hard on my sermons. The blessing I stole from God. So, oh well. Such is the life of being a pastor. All right. I'll catch you later. Bye. Part of this land is certified wildlife. It's a wildlife preserve. And here, if you walk along the road in the morning, sometimes you can see foxes. I don't know. Is it like deer? You can see them playing in the meadow. They're also probably looking for food. And then obviously you see a lot of deer out here. I saw deer in the meadow this morning. Oops. All right, not quite end of the day, but close enough. So I'm going to adjust this. And all right, so I spent most of today working on this one, the afternoon anyway. I spent most of the afternoon working on this one piece of writing that I've been doing. And man, I could not make that thing happen. I could not make it be born, no matter what I did. I wrote it, rewrote it, added paragraphs, took paragraphs out, stepped away, went into town, came back, decided to come at it a completely different angle. And no matter what I did, this thing just was not going to happen. So I put it away, decided I got some other stuff some other writing stuff to work on. Figured I pulled that out. I'm going to work on that, but decided to go to the chapel for a while and then take a walk through the meadow. I like to do that in the evening before it gets too bad. Once the sun goes down, man, the mosquitoes are terrible. So I was hoping, my hope was, sometimes if I go and sit in the chapel and pray and I'm just quiet, then it'll kind of all come together. But as I was praying and just being still before God, pretty much felt like I just need to just scrap it. It's not meant to be. It does not want to be born. And was reminded of that passage from Jeremiah chapter 18, where the potter is forming a pot, and that the clay is marred and does not want it to become what he's trying to make it. And so he scraps it and starts over and shapes it into something completely different. And just as I was praying and meditating, felt like God was saying, I'm trying to make this into something that it's not supposed to be. And I need to just let it go and, put it to the side. If it wants to be born, it's going to be born, but it's going to be part of a different project. It's not going to be part of this project. And kind of left me with this idea, like starting to journal and pray about, are there other things that I am forcing and trying to make it be something that it doesn't want to be? And I need to just let it go. I need to allow it to become what it's supposed to be, what it was intended to be. So, I don't know, kind of just meditating on that a little bit tonight, I guess, and see what comes up. So I'm just done writing for the day. I mean, I might do some journaling, but I think pretty much from this point on, I'm just going to read, make something to eat, just kind of call it done for today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I have a story about a friend of mine that I've been working on. I have a big chunk of it done. I have the sad part done. So I can work on the rest of it that's not sad. That's kind of what I learned through that experience. It's a story I've talked about a little bit in some of my messages, a friend of mine, and how my relationship with him really kind of shifted my philosophy of ministry. So I'm doing some writing around that issue tomorrow. So I appreciate everyone who's praying for me. It's really, really needed it. Today, every day is a good day, right? But today, it's just really sense God's presence. Even though I'm disappointed with the fact that kind of all this writing I did it's not really scrapped. I mean, it is, right? Like we want something to show for what we've done. But sometimes everything that we've done was to produce something completely different. Like all the writing I did today was God showing me something else. So it wasn't a waste, but it feels like a waste, right? Because I would take all of that and I'm going to set it aside. But it's not, because really this experience is shaping me for something else and is trying to teach me something. So that's what I have for you on day 2 of my retreat. Thank you again for all of your prayers. I'll see you in the morning. Maybe.